What's up guys? In today's video I'm going to show you guys 3 different ways you guys can make millions in this upcoming bull run. No, you do not have to have a lot of upfront capital for this. In fact, having as little as $100 will be perfect for these strategies. I'll go ahead and explain all that and more later in this video. If you guys are new to Drake on Digital, I talk all things crypto, DeFi, NFTs, inscriptions, you name it. If that's your cup of tea, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below with your favorite altcoin going into this bull run. Strategy number 1 to build your capital base involves airdrops, especially if you only have $100 to work with. Some of you guys are thinking, wait. You need at least $10, $20, $30,000 in order to get some nice sizable airdrops. Well, actually, no. Let me give you some examples of some of the previous ones. The Jito airdrop, that was a 5-figure airdrop. All you simply had to do is stake 1 soul into Jito Soul, and you would have gotten 5 figures. The cost to do so, around $20 to $30. The Arbitrum airdrop, all you had to simply do was bridge over on chain, make a couple of transactions, interact with a couple of protocols with less than $100 or about $100, and you would have gotten the minimum tier, which was a 4-figure airdrop. Similar to Optimism in the OP airdrop. This was also a 4-figure airdrop. All you had to do, going off the lowest tier, was bridge over to Optimism, make a couple of transactions, and this helped you qualify. Another one is Uniswap and the Uni airdrop. Sure, this was a couple of years ago, but all you had to do was make a swap on Uniswap, cost you, I don't know, a couple of dollars in gas fees, and you got a 5-figure airdrop. DYDX, all you had to do is simply use the dApp, and well, you got a 4 to 5-figure airdrop. Same thing with 1inch, 5-figure airdrop. Same thing with Paraswap, 5-figure airdrop. Same thing with Looks and Blur. All you had to do was buy and sell a couple of different NFTs. You even had the Tia airdrop. This ended up being a 5 to 6-figure airdrop. All you had to do is simply stake a couple of Cosmos tokens, maybe hold a random NFT, and play around with some of the other layer 2 chains. I can keep going on with this list, but the biggest thing is don't be afraid to try new chains and protocols, especially if they are tokenless. All you need to do is hit one good one, and this will give you the capital that you need to compound your gains into other airdrops, and then recompound those gains, which will then allow you to move into strategy 2. But you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, well, how do I airdrop farm? What do I look for? Well, here are some tips for spotting the best protocols. Tip number 1 is looking to see who the backers are. Some of the previous projects they were involved in raised at multi-billion-dollar market caps, then you probably have a good one. Oftentimes when venture capital invests into a lot of these different projects, their tokens are vested. So it's in their best interest to pump the token. When they pump the token, they're able to exit at higher valuations and of course, profit. Tip number 2 is seeing how much they raised. Typically when they raise more cash, that means they raised at a higher project valuation. Now, of course, depending on the amount of tokens they gain from making that investment is going to be a determining factor, but typically the more money that is raised, it's usually a higher market cap for the project. And usually when VCs invest a lot of money into a particular project, there's usually a reason for it. And these guys have access to tools as well as inside information that retail doesn't. And if they spot something and they're throwing a lot of cash at it, there's probably something there. The third tip is looking at a comparative market analysis. You want to take a look at projects in a similar category and see what those market caps are. So if you have a money market that is launching, well, you can look at Aave, for example, and look at its market cap. Or if you have a shiny new layer 1, you can look at some of the market caps of the other shiny new layer 1s. Now, there are some projects that you aren't even able to get a comparative market analysis. It's because they are a shiny new object that nobody's ever created. An example is Celestia. Especially when the market can't value something like this, well, you tend to have a price chart that looks like this because people are like, wait, it could do this, it could do this, and you now have the dreams being priced in instead of reality. Similar to the dot-com bubble back in the day. Tip number 4 is seeing how much of the supply is dropped. If a money market is dropping and its target market cap is around $100 million, and it's only airdropping 1% of the supply to early users, that means the airdrop is going to be valued around $1 million. And let's say, for example, they have 200 mil in TVL deposited into that protocol. Well, that airdrop is basically going to be farmed to pants. You have $200 million in TVL chasing a $1 million airdrop. It's not that great. However, if you have something like $100 million on a particular layer 2 that is tokenless, chasing after a $2 billion or $20 billion valuation, then you probably have something there. And the last tip is to make sure the protocol is tokenless. If you are airdrop farming and the project already has a token, it's highly unlikely that they are going to launch another token. Your goal is to get some airdrops, and farming a project that already has a token, well, it's not going to work out so great. I want to give you guys an example of one of the projects so you guys can use this as a blueprint. This was Celestia. Just taking a look and seeing what they raised. This is actually dated. They raised way more than this. You can see here they have some big names investing in Celestia. You got OKX, Galaxy Digital, Jump Crypto. You have Delphi Digital. You have Coinbase Ventures, Polychain Capital. And then if you go even higher, you even have Binance and Binance Labs investing in them. Guys, these are some really, really big names in the crypto space. And if these guys are swinging capital at it, there's something there. And as you can see here, back in 2022, just going based on this website, it looks like they raised 55 mil on a $1 billion valuation. Now, obviously, if you go on different websites, you can see different valuations, but you can see these guys are swinging capital at a project like Celestia. And once you have something like this, it's probably a good idea to figure out how to farm this airdrop. Now, once you got a project you want to go ahead and farm, you need to do some research and figure out how to farm it. Now, Celestia is its own chain, and obviously the chain is not live. So some of the different ideas you can get with Celestia is, okay, what type of project it is. Well, Celestia is built on Tendermint. Tendermint is basically the consensus algorithm for the Cosmos. So if you go into the history of the Cosmos ecosystem, simply staking some Atom, Osmo, as well as some other tokens like Juno, Secret, they tend to give a lot of airdrops. So a way you could have potentially farmed this is simply just by staking some of those tokens. Another way is if they had a Zealy campaign going on, completing the campaign or even using their testnet. Twitter is a really good resource to use for this as well. Simply all you would do is type in the words Celestia airdrop farm or Celestia airdrop, and then there will be a full list of different things that you can use. There's also a really, really good tool called Discord and Telegram for the particular project. Once you go into that Discord and Telegram, all you got to do is simply ask like, hey, are there any plans of getting a token? And if so, how can one get one of these tokens? You can also search some of the previous messages so you can get some data and information. Now, once you have all that information, the ball's in your court to act on that. Now, if you're simply farming a protocol that is tokenless using a tool like DeFi Llama, this will show you some of the protocols that don't have a token. You can simply go on to the particular protocol and you can visit their socials as well as their website to see how much they raised, what narrative they are targeting, and of course you can go into their socials. And once it's deemed worthy of airdrop farming, then go into the Discord and Telegram groups to go ahead and further your research to figure out what you need to do in order to farm the airdrop. Everyone likes examples, so I'm going to give you guys another example. This is MilkyWay.zone. This is a tokenless protocol on Celestia. If you remember the Jito airdrop that happened a couple of weeks ago, all you simply had to do was use the protocol by simply staking a little bit of Jito onto the platform and you earned a 5-figure airdrop. In my opinion, it's a really, really good idea to go ahead and take some TIA and stake it or liquid stake it on Milky Way. There's been many hints in Discord on a airdrop as well as on Twitter. So if there's some hints, it's probably a really good idea to go ahead and test some of these dApps and, well, get a juicy airdrop. Now we have our capital base and now we earn some airdrops. Now it's time to go into strategy 2. This is spotting narratives. In crypto, narrative is everything. It doesn't matter about utility, doesn't matter about tokenomics, burns, market dominance, roadmap. If the particular narrative the token is in is not popular, the token is not going to pump, not financial advice. So if you're able to spot a narrative before it becomes hot, this is huge. But there's a problem. Oftentimes, this is really difficult to do and it will test your patience. But if you're willing to try it, some ways you can spot a particular narrative is 1. What is the problem it's solving? Not all problems need to be solved using blockchain technology. Find categories that blockchain technology can actually disrupt or improve. Not just, yeah, let's just throw it on the blockchain and see what happens. An example of a good narrative or utility would be RWAs. RWAs allow for assets that normally would be constrained to a particular nation or area to now become borderless and open to everyone. The tokenized dollar is an example of a RWA, and bringing that on-chain now makes it available for more than just US citizens. Another example of this would be the DeSci narrative. DeSci has become a popular narrative because it's merging blockchain technology with science and research. This creates new outcomes that normally would have not been created because you now have a method of decentralized funding. Let's say, for example, a cure for some disease that isn't really commonplace was thrown on the back burner because there wasn't enough funding for some scientists to find some research for a particular cure. It can now be done in a decentralized manner because you now have a DAO that forms and is like, hey, look, we want to go ahead and solve the cure for Guillain-Barré or a disease that isn't very commonplace. A community is now able to come together and fund those developments in a decentralized manner without that middleman. Or putting it in a more simpler way, take a look at 23andMe, a company that is able to take your DNA and construct your ancestry data. When you send your DNA out to that company, they now know a lot more about you than you actually know about yourself. And they own that data once you send it over to them. However, being able to have a decentralized way of storing this data, which is what Gene is doing, that could be an interesting project to look at. The second tip to spotting a particular narrative is how it performs against Bitcoin and ETH. The easiest way to do this is simply going onto CoinGecko and selecting your currency into Bitcoin or ETH. For this example, I went ahead and toggled it to Bitcoin, and I can see which categories are performing best against Bitcoin. Now, if I go over a 7-day period and I say, okay, well, I can see here Injective is outperforming in terms of Bitcoin. BRC20 is also outperforming in terms of Bitcoin. The modular blockchain like Celestia also outperforming Bitcoin. Farming as a service or even like AI, same junk, different day. It's also outperforming Bitcoin. And if I want to see some of these different tokens that are in this particular category, I can open it up and see the different tokens in this list. This is also a really cool tool built by CryptoCoreo, and it basically shows a particular narrative in terms of Bitcoin. And as you can see here, towards the start of this year, the only narratives that are outperforming Bitcoin are, well, the Bitcoin narrative and liquid restaking tokens. All of these other guys are just getting completely roasted as the turn of the new year. And then, now, if you want a little more data from some previous years or at least a longer time frame, you can scroll down into this tool and you can see here some of the other popular narratives like DeFi 2.0, Bitcoin narrative, money markets, DPen, Layer 1s, Oracles, AI, Gamblify, memes. You can see their risk adjusted performance over the previous year. And you can see NFTs and privacy got absolutely hammered. Now, the ones that underperformed, these could actually be a really good entry point because typically when you underperform, I mean, sure, you can underperform more, but it's more likely to return to the mean. Now, if you're not good at spotting particular narratives and that's not your thing, that's okay. Just find what's cooking, like we showed you on CoinGecko as well as on Dune, and take a look at some of the coins on a particular chain, if it's on that chain or in a similar category. An example is if you miss the AVAX pump, notice some of the on-chain alts lagging. An example is Trader Joe, Key, or even the shiny new meme like Caulk. Oftentimes when you have new liquidity coming onto a chain, they need to find a place to drop some cash. The third piece of the puzzle for the narrative is the catalyst. For a particular narrative to pop, there needs to be a catalyst. And these are much harder to predict but these are determined in probabilities. An example is ordinals. These are considered a better NFT that you actually own. So instead of a NFT that's on Ethereum, which is just a link to IPFS, on Bitcoin, the ordinals you actually inscribe, they're inscribed directly on Bitcoin, the most decentralized network in the world. So you actually have ownership and you actually own the actual NFT on chain, not just some IPFS link that's hosted by Amazon. The catalyst happened when newfound millionaires from BRC20s, as well as the increased price appreciation on Bitcoin, needing a place to diversify. Elon Musk comes on to Joe Rogan's podcast talking about NFTs just being centralized links on IPFS. There's your catalyst. A more simple example is the catalyst for Doge. The narrative was Dogecoin becoming a viral meme, and the catalyst is a popular person by the name of Elon Musk simply making a tweet or talking about it. He gets a lot of engagement on Twitter and social platforms, which will bring more eyes to buying Dogecoin. So the catalyst was when Elon Musk aired on SNL and was talking about Doge. Basically marketing in front of millions of viewers that can press that buy button. Of course, it's always buy the rumor, sell the news. Hence why the all-time high was basically just before Elon Musk came onto SNL. Now don't get discouraged, especially when you find a particular narrative and you're waiting on that catalyst to pop. Oftentimes, a narrative can stay dormant longer than the investor can stay solvent. So if this is your game you're wanting to play, make sure you guys are patient and you spread your bets across the board. Before we get into the third strategy, I want to say thanks to the sponsor, Cryptonomy. They are an investment platform that is trying to bring crypto to the masses. Directly through their app, you can get loans against different cryptocurrencies. You can exchange between different tokens, as well as lend out different tokens for a yield. If you want to go under their different interest accounts, you can take a look at all of the different assets that they have. They range from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Dogecoin, some stable coins. You can scroll through all the list of all the assets here. And they also have a feature where you can participate in some of their launch pools. If you want to learn more about this project, I'll drop a link in the description below so you guys can check it out. Information will be in the description below if you want to check it out. Strategy number 3 involves ignoring the noise. Be careful chasing the latest pumps and trends. Oftentimes when your favorite YouTuber or your favorite influencer on Twitter is talking about it, that is usually a local top. One of the best things you can do is simply hit that little star button on CoinGecko, watch list it, come back a few weeks later, and then you will thank yourself. Tip number 2 for this is really important. Invest in the Kool-Aid and don't drink it. The cult will be strong and their arguments will be convincing, but don't be fooled. At the end of the day, 99.9999999% of these things are either vaporware or in the long term are just going to massively underperform Bitcoin and ETH. For me to make the right decisions, I needed to be sober and I needed to set back bias aside to have the clarity of mind to sell. Tip number 3 is a private group. Ignore the noise on Twitter, on YouTube, and join a private Discord or Telegram group, especially the ones that have their finger on the pulse. Multiple minds are always better than one, and being able to share your thesis with others will allow you to either strengthen your conviction or invalidate your thesis. It's really important to document information. This is why I make these YouTube videos, to figure out if I actually have conviction on a project or if it's just a flash in the pan. There are several good private groups. You can find some of them on Twitter as well as in other project Discords. I also have one myself. If you guys want to join the premium Discord, there's a link in the description below so you guys can access that. But I think it's really important to join a private group that has their finger on the pulse so you are ignoring the noise. Lastly, don't chase the pump. Oftentimes, when you're impatient or when I'm impatient, trying to catch the latest narrative and selling out the narrative that's just been dormant usually resulted in that new hot narrative now becoming dormant and the one I just rotated out of gigascending. And this happens more times than you would believe. But in summary, guys, the 3 different ways you can kill it this bull run are going to be with airdrops, finding hot narratives, and ignoring the noise. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me what your favorite altcoin is going into 2024. If you guys would like to join the premium Discord, there's a link in the description below so you guys can join that. Let's go ahead and hit you guys with a wisdom one-liner. Proverbs chapter 17 verses 17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. Be good, be righteous. Look for those true friends. Peace.